Hello and welcome everybody into the Skraby Show for Wednesday, April 17th. Anytime we have a game early in the morning, I guess like the Padres did today, start at 10:10 a.m. I always feel that game was like yesterday or something, but we are going to be talking about the Padres tonight. We are going to be talking about some things going on around baseball. We're also going to be talking about Jackson Merrill because everybody knows at this point I have a huge man crush on Jackson Merrill. He is awesome. And again, I know that he's going to struggle because this is the common response when I say that I am a big fan of Jackson Merrill. Well, we'll see if you're a big fan when he goes and struggles. Well, yeah, I will be. I promise that. We're also going to talk about Manny Machado because I want to do this thing where I want to debunk I guess like common thoughts about the Padres. So my common thought was, or actually someone requested I look into this, but my common thought or the common thought was Manny Machado's not clutch. And so I looked into some of the clutch stats, and this one's a little bit harder to like explain, but I'm going to try to do that at some point. Also, we're going to talk about WNBA pay. Yes, we are going to talk about WNBA pay because I didn't realize I mean, I realized that they get paid goodish money, but I didn't realize that they got paid something. They're getting paid less than a lot of other business professionals in this world. So we're going to talk about that for a little bit. And then I didn't get to ever put this into the Big Five, but I think we're going to play Sam Levitt calling the tarp pull from over the weekend when he was up at Dodger Stadium. This one is actually, I believe it's the Sunday tarp pull because the Saturday tarp pull was something apparently that was so great that no one can ever recreate it again. So we'll go over all of that. I am Matt Skraby. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Matt Skraby, MATTSKRA, as in boy, Y. You can also watch on Facebook. You can watch on YouTube, 97.3 The Fan. You can watch on Twitch. Also, you can watch on X, 97.3 The Fan, SD. You can comment right there, too. If you're an X user and you comment and you don't see anything back, it's because I cannot reply, but I can talk about it. Let's see. Let's go and do some of the roll call here in the chat. We got Victor's in the chat. We got Michael, M. McKee, Elisa, Anthony, Zen. Ooh, I like that name, Zen. We have Zen. Then we have Taylor. We have Castro. We have Jacob. We have Katie, Dominic, a random ham, Easy Money. We got a lot of people in the chat right now. Mr. Monkey. I always find that one funny. But if you want to go to the chat, just go to YouTube. Search 97.3 The Fan. You'll find it. Also, I have a Skraby Show channel now on YouTube that I'm going to be using at times throughout the season to broadcast live. So thanks to everybody who subscribed to that too. I needed 50 subscribers, put it out on X, and I got like 175 subscribers by the end of yesterday, which is incredible. Like I'm blown away every single time I ask for help, and I get more than I ever expected in a million years. All right, let's talk about the Padres today. And the Padres, as you know, they lost 1-0 to the Brewers, and this was a stinging loss, I should say. It did not feel good to lose this game. I'm just going to put it out there. I was kind of angry that the Padres were not capitalizing on things throughout the day. I tweeted it out. Can someone help out Michael King, who's basically pitching the game of his life, the game of his career? He was incredible today. If you didn't hear, he carried a no-hitter into the 7th inning, and Michael King was he was exactly as advertised. This is the guy that we had all talked about when the trade for Juan Soto was made. He was the guy who people were saying was the main centerpiece of the trade. Now, Michael King so far through the season has, I guess he's been consistent, but in 2 games this year, I really thought he was awesome, and he showed why he was being considered the centerpiece of the trade. But today he went, I'm getting his game log just so I make sure I have everything 100% ready to go. But he went 7 2/3 innings today. He gave up 1 run, which was actually Wandy Peralta was the one who gave that up. But Michael King allowed the runner on base. He struck out 10. He only walked 2. and he was just rolling today. 2 hits given up by Michael King. The actual hit that ended the no-hitter was honestly, it was a blooper. So it wasn't one of those hits that was, struck well. It wasn't 100 miles an hour off the bat or anything like that. But Michael King did what Michael King needs to do. Now, I really think that if we're going to maybe pick at something of Michael King, it's got to be the up and down nature of his starts or his appearances. So he started the season and he didn't start in a game in Korea. He actually came in relief. He went 3 1/3 innings and he gave up 3 runs. Then he pitched against the Giants on that Sunday, and he wasn't very good. He was 4 innings. He gave up 2 earned runs, which should have been a lot more. He walked 7 in that game. The Padres ended up winning both of those games, but that game against the Giants, they won 13-4, which was that Sunday at home of the first weekend. And then he went up to San Francisco the following week, and he pitched against the Giants. That was the Jurickson Profar grand slam in the first inning game, and he went 7, only giving up 4 hits. He struck out 4. But he gave up no earned runs. He only walked 1 batter as well. And then against the Dodgers on last Friday, he also did not have the best of starts. He went 5 innings. He gave up 6 hits, 4 earned runs. He gave up 4 home runs in the game, and he walked 2 while striking out 4. So those are all great numbers. And let me just say, those are all numbers that I guess aren't they're not going to make me panic. Obviously, because I've seen what he can do, and I think that he's great, and I think that he can do a lot. So the one thing that I didn't like today, and it's on everybody's mind, is that Matthew Batten tripled in the 8th to lead off the inning, and the Padres could not get him in for their lives. And again, this is just one game out of 162. And they actually took the first 2 games from the Brewers. So they won both series on the road in this last road trip. They won 2 out of 3 in LA against the Dodgers. They won 2 out of 3 against the Brewers. And today was the first day that the bats kind of looked like they did last year. And by the way, after the comeback on Friday night against the Dodgers when they were down, and then last Monday against the Cubs, and then on Sunday they also had to make a come from behind win. Like, I don't think this team is at all in any way resembling the 2023 team anymore. I know that I was saying that last Skraby Show, but a lot has happened since the last Skraby Show. The team has shown that they seem to really like playing together. They seem to like each other. And as Chris has used the example a couple times now, they're not taking 25 cabs home. They're maybe carpooling and getting to know each other a little bit more. So this team's vibes and this team, the confidence that I see in this team, I think it's just going to keep going up as the season goes along, because they're going to be able to do some things that we did not see at all last year. Jack says, like when Austin Powers got his mojo back. Exactly. Let's see. Taylor says, how do you have a runner on third with no outs and still can't bring him in? Why not use a bunt? Taylor, that's not a really, that's not a far off point at all. I mean, why not use the bunt? The only thing with the bunt, though, is what if it's a bad bunt and they just take the runner or throw the runner out at home or wherever, get him caught in a rundown or something like that. But it is frustrating. It's extremely frustrating to have Michael King go 7 2/3, give up 2 hits, only 1 earned run while striking out 10, walking only 2, and taking the loss. He should not have taken the loss today. Someone has to take the loss, but he should not. The team today, though, 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. It's just, I'm not going to panic too much about one game. I'm going to look, though, at the last couple series, and I'm going to be very excited about this team. I think they're headed in the right direction. I think that Mike Shildt is kind of finding his place in everything. And Mike Shildt is kind of finding his times that he needs to go and stand up for a player and times that he needs to maybe let the player do their own thing. Like the other day at Dodger Stadium when they were messing with the Shohei Ohtani baseballs, and if he hit a home run, he passes Hideki Matsuyama for most home runs as a Japanese-born player, which I get is a big deal. But at that time, Wandy Peralta is just trying to win the game. Mike Shildt comes out and is like screaming about what is going on here. Why can't he just use the same baseball? And he was standing up for his players. And so Wandy Peralta had no idea why they were doing what they were doing, but Mike Schilt came out. So I really do think the camaraderie of this team is a lot different than it was last year. And I think it's a really good feel. I mean, I went down to that clubhouse a couple times in the last couple weeks, or actually last Wednesday, I went down in the clubhouse and everybody was laughing. Everybody was having a good time. Xander Bogaerts and Jake Cronenworth were playing this little board game thing. So, and not that they weren't doing that last year, but I feel like there is a different feel. There's more, I guess there's less pressure on this team, if that makes any sense, even though this team needs to go to the playoffs. Someone says, poor King got the same run support we gave Snell last year. Hey, Snell won the Cy Young with that run support. Snell absolutely did win the Cy Young run support. What's up with Yu Darvish and Crone? Yu Darvish actually is on the IL for neck stiffness. And let me see if here is after the game. Mike Schilt was asked by reporters for an update on Yu Darvish.
Upper neck issue, tightness, just a matter of getting some rest, being able to take a little bit of a blow from it and, create some other opportunities.
Don't expect it to be long-term?
I don't know.
Okay.
So there you go. He doesn't expect it to be long-term. It's a 15-day IL stint. It's retroactive to his last start. So he could be back in 2 or 3 more starts, but sounds like he's okay. Excuse me. We know how this goes. We know that sometimes it could be a sore neck that is kind of hurting and he'll be fine in a week, to a whole thing where he's out for the year, and I'm knocking on wood. It's not going to happen. I don't think Mike Schilt would give that answer if he knew something was worse than it actually is, but we're going to have to kind of hold our breath a little bit about Yu Darvish and see what's going on there. Jake Cronenworth, though, he was not in the game today. He has not been put on the IL. He has a calf injury, but it doesn't seem to be too serious. And hopefully we see him in the lineup on Friday. He did say he was walking around okay. So I don't know that the Jake Cronenworth injury is very serious at all, which is a good thing. Now, speaking of Michael King, let's go back to him because we're going to talk a lot about him today because he was awesome. And Mike Schilt, one of the things I recognize about Mike Schilt is he has a really good way with words. And so I haven't heard this yet, actually, but here is Mike Schilt on Michael King's gem of a game.
Clearly in control the whole way, controlling counts, a lot of soft contact, everything working for him. Takes a no-hitter into the 7th. Sometimes no-hitters, they get broken up. There's a lot of mental energy that goes into it. And sometimes things can get a little, sideways from there. Didn't with Michael. Was able to finish the 7th. Knew he was going to be in a tight leash in the 8th relative to a couple of things, but he was working efficiently. So, he had some more rope, getting into the 8th inning. Now he's getting over 100 pitches, which, again, we've rode with Cease last night to 110. He's in the 8th. Hoskins throws a 6-pitch at bat on him and a 6-pitch at bat from Terang. And he started noticing, gosh, man, he was throwing the ball good, and but he was starting to get to that point. And, got the strikeout in Churio and, clearly the decision we made, Wandy hadn't given up base hit to right-handed hitter all year, and didn't work out.
Well, there you go. And, I appreciate Mike Schilt giving an actual reason as to why they took Michael King out, and Wandy Peralta not giving up a hit to a right-handed hitter all year long is a pretty good reason for that. So my argument wasn't why bring in Wandy Peralta. It was why bring Michael King out for the 8th inning. He did get the first couple outs, but it didn't seem like he was running out of gas. And I know that Mike Schilt seems like a manager that lets their guys go and play and, has them push through some walls that they might face later in the year that they need to push through. But in the end, I've calmed down from that whole thing. And, Mike Schilt is thinking 10 steps ahead during the game. I've heard that managers think, they manage the entire game in their head throughout the entire game. So he has a plan. He's sticking to his plan. Just one loss, like I said, out of 162 games. Matt Skraby with you here. Thank you for joining me on the Skraby Show. If you're a Skrabinator, all that means is that you listen to the Skraby Show and you identify as a Skrabinator, and there's no membership fees or anything like that. So if you're a Skrabinator, let me know, and I will say hi to you or something like that. But when we get back, I think we're going to talk about the one thing that fans are really upset about right now, and that would be Xander Bogaerts. We'll talk about Xander. We'll talk about this Padres team when we get back here on the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan. Back here in the Odyssey Palace, 97.3 The Fan, Matt Skraby, The Skraby Show. Thank you for joining me tonight. Again, the Roundtable is tomorrow, presented by Roundtable. So all of the hosts of 97.3 The Fan are going to be on from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. talking Padres baseball. And if you can't make that, you can do 5 to 6 p.m. We will have it for you one more time. And the Roundtables have been pretty fun. And if you're going to listen, if you don't want to listen for baseball talk, that's fine. You can listen maybe and see Chris run the board and turn his mic off when he's trying to talk. So that is also something that happened with the Roundtable last week. But tomorrow they're doing something kind of cool because it does get a little bit crowded in here when everybody is in there. And so they're doing something different. I don't want to give it away. I don't know if anybody else on the station has actually talked about this, but I don't want to be the guy who gives away the secret. So just make sure you tune in for the Roundtable on YouTube on 97.3 The Fan. Also in your car, 97.3 on the dial, as they say. I'm such a radio nerd that I still scan the radio. I don't know if anybody else scans the radio, and I don't know why I'm such a radio nerd. Obviously, I mean, I love radio. That's why I'm here. But I scan the radio, and I got to say, and I'm not just saying this, our signal sounds pretty good. I'm not lying. Like, I tune into some of these other FM stations, and sometimes I'm losing them going home, and I'm losing them going through the hills, but not 97.3 The Fan. We actually had to boost our signal a little. Maybe not. Maybe boost is. I'm not using the right technology words here, but when we got the Padres, it was all about making sure that everybody could hear the Padres. So now we can hear them all the way up until Dana Point, sometimes Laguna Niguel, sometimes Lisa Viejo. I've been up there and heard it. Anyway, that's our station's reach for everybody out there. Pizza Talk is taking over the chat right now. New York Mike, yes, I do stream WFAN in New York. Obviously, it's one of the best. It's one of the best radio stations, sports radio stations in the country. It's one of those that started it all. Padres apparently have just landed at Lindbergh Field. Abraham, I was talking about the radio, not the app. All right, let's start with this because I kind of went away with Jackson Merrill for a second there, or went away from him. I was trying to tell everybody how much of a fanboy I am, and then I kind of went away and went in a different direction. But here's what I wanted to say about Jackson Merrill, because, of course, he is starting the year on fire. I can't honestly imagine where this team is without Jackson Merrill right now. I can't help but think how worried people were about center field in spring training, and I was one of those people. But we have nothing to worry about. He's more than held his own in center field. He's made some pretty incredible plays defensively. It's really, really hard to remember that it's really hard to remember that Jackson Merrill has never played center field before this year professionally. I mean, he may have played it here and there in high school. I don't know. But professionally, Jackson Merrill has never played center field, and he looks like he's been playing center field his entire life. But here's where I think things are really good for Jackson Merrill. And right now, in all of baseball, according to MLB.com stats, in all of baseball, he ranks 15th in two-out hitting. His average ranks 15th. So currently, he's hitting .393 with 2 outs, and he had a 2-out triple today. So Jackson Merrill at the bottom of the lineup is exactly where I want him to be right now. I don't know that they want to switch him to a different spot in the lineup because I personally like having someone like Jackson Merrill at the bottom of the lineup to try to give some life to it, because we've seen too many years in a row the Padres bottom of the lineup 6, 7, 8, 9 hitters have not come through. But Jackson Merrill has come through at the bottom of the lineup, and I really want to see him stay there for a little bit. I don't want the team, and I don't think they're going to do this, but I don't really want the team to start relying on him for things. Like Jackson Merrill comes up, they're not relying on him to win a game. He's just doing it because he has the opportunities to do it. And hitting .393 with 2 outs, 5 RBIs, and 28 at-bats is really good. and he's got a 1.004 OPS. Now, when you look at the leader in average, it's William Contreras, who we just saw from the Brewers. He's only had 14 at bats though. Jackson Merrill has had 28 2-out at bats. Let me see if that's the most in baseball right now. It is actually, wow. Okay, so Vinny Pasquantino of the Royals has 30 at bats with 2 outs. He's hitting 200. Nolan Arenado has 29 at bats with 2 outs. He's hitting 345. Brian Hayes is 29. He's hitting 345. Other than that, he's Jackson Merrill's tied with Ryan McMahon, Jeff McNeil, Anthony Volpe. So a lot of good things happening with Jackson Merrill, and I just cannot wait to see where this goes. Cannot wait to see where all of this goes. Mr. Monkey is getting crazy in the chat. And McKee says, so over the Jackson Holiday hype. Jackson Holiday is going to be a good player, I'm sure, because he comes from the pedigree. But I too agree. The Jackson Holiday talk has been a little much. Let me go see what Jackson Holiday. I tuned in on MLB TV the other day to see Jackson Holiday. And he did get on base, but he walked. So it wasn't like that big of a deal. But let's see what his stats are right now. Just want to check it out because I've never heard so much about Jackson Holiday. Now, he is the number 1 overall pick in 2022. So he did make it to the big leagues pretty quick. But right now he's 1 for 25 in his big league career at .040 in the average and only 1 RBI. And I don't want to compare because it's very early in the season, but Jackson Merrill has had a much bigger performance so far this season than Jackson Holiday. Also, Jackson Chourio of the Brewers. Jackson Chourio is hitting 230, struck out twice today. And so my fantasy team struck out as well. But that's my thoughts on Jackson Merrill right now. And I just want to continue to see him get better and better and better and better. And that's what we're seeing this year. So Jackson Merrill, 15th in baseball with 2 outs. I can't remember. I'm sure that there was a time, but I can't really remember a time when Padres hitting with 2 outs was anyone was hitting 393. Cactus Man says Mookie is not a good short sight yet. MLB is making too big of a deal out of him. Mookie is very good. Come on. I don't know that we could say they're making too big of a deal out of him. He is pretty incredible. I'm just going to be real. I'm just going to be honest. Even though he's a Dodger, he's really good. I don't think that they're overhyping Mookie Betts whatsoever. EC Money asks, what website do you use for MLB stats? A couple different websites. So the first website I use if I need stats that are updated, I go to MLB.com. For some reason, that website is great for stats live. It updates as they go through the games. So it's all same day stuff. The other one I use is Baseball Reference, but Baseball Reference doesn't update until the day after. So anything that happened today, I cannot see until tomorrow, but Baseball Reference has many, many different stats out there. Incredible stats. Incredible stats. Everybody is freaking out on the chat, but they were talking about pizza and I'm very hungry as well. So I'm going to get some, I have my, what do I have today? I have chicken and a salad to eat after. Now, I did talk about Manny Machado, and what I wanted to go in and see if Manny Machado was not clutch, because someone asked me about Manny Machado not being clutch. And there is sometimes I feel that way. I do. But Manny Machado, and while I was looking for these stats, because I looked all over Baseball Reference to find some sort of stat that was going to help me prove the point that he is clutch or help me prove the point that he's not clutch. But really all I found was how incredibly consistent he has been throughout his career. No matter what part of the season he produces. And that's why Chris came on last week and said, nobody should worry about Manny Machado. He's going to be just fine. And I 100% agree he's going to be just fine. And he has picked it up here in the last week. He's now hitting, let's see, according to Baseball Reference, which does not include today, 263. So that's going to be a little bit different. But here are some of the clutch stats, as they say, for this year. And they're not good, and the numbers are not good because they're skewed. So when I was sent this the other day, I know Abraham on the chat has been really has been telling me that he wants me to look up these clutch stat numbers, but I can't look them up right now because they're so skewed. So few at bats, like 2 outs, runners in scoring position. He's only had 5 at bats in that situation. Late and close, meaning plate appearance into the 7th inning or later when the batting team is tied ahead by 1 or tying run at least on deck. He's hitting 125. And most of his stats this year in the clutch range, when it's tied, he's had 20 at bats. He's hitting 350. I'd say that's really clutch. And he's hitting 2 home runs and he's driven in 5 RBIs. So in a tie game, Manny Machado is most likely going to come through so far if we're using these numbers for this year. Within a run, he's had 34 at-bats, 294. And 3 home runs. Within 3 runs, he's hitting 286. Within 2 runs, he's hitting 275. Within 4 runs, he's hitting 268. So if we look at those stats right there, and we're using this year, A, it's too early to tell, but B, it's inconclusive whether or not he's clutch. Because I would say that in the situations that he's produced this year, they're pretty good situations. And Manny Machado has come through. I was looking for because Baseball Reference does go really crazy in depth with things, but I'm going to go to his career clutch numbers so everybody can kind of hear what he's done throughout his entire career, because he's played for a very long time and he's done some great things. But if you look at his clutch stats in his career, let's see, let's go by batting average. When with 2 outs and runners in scoring position in his career, he has 585 at bats, hitting 282 with 31 home runs. When it's a tie game, he's hitting 279 with 96 home runs and 258 RBIs. When they're behind, he's at 114 home runs and 298 RBIs, 269 batting average. Now, the one thing is late and close is his worst batting average, 246. And he's hit 36 home runs. So, again, clutch stats. He's hit, I would say, if you look at his career, he's more clutch than not. So I think that's kind of debunked. Anthony says, everyone would be much happier watching Padres games if they didn't treat them all like playoff football games. You know what? I completely agree with that, Anthony, because I get too into games. If they lose one, I get too down about it. It's just, it's a long season. And I'm starting to realize that. Yes, you're welcome, Abraham. He said he thanked me for coming back to an old question. Jeremy says, anyone seen his house in Coronado? I don't know who we're talking about. Gonzo says, so you're saying Manny is relevant? Yeah, Manny's relevant. So if you have any of these things that you want me to try to debunk, I don't know how well I'll do at it, but I will try my best to go and find an answer. And if I can't find an answer, I'll tell you. But that was just one of my first forays into debunking some of that stuff. Also, I think the team goes where Manny goes, and we've said that for a few years now. But now that they have all these other guys producing that they didn't have last year, the Jackson Merrills, the Jake Cronenworth actually producing this year. I think Jose Azocar, when he's been in there, he's been really good. I think that these guys are putting less pressure on the big boppers, as they say, at the top of the lineup. I think they're putting on a ton of pressure. Or yes, you get what I'm saying. I've thrown too many numbers at you. I am just furthering a point that I've already made. So thanks, Gonzo. Oh, Jeremy said Manny's house in Coronado. I have not seen Manny's house in Coronado. And I would love to see it. I'm going to go look for a picture of it later. All right, when we get back, Caitlin Clark, I want to talk about this WNBA pay disparity real quick. And then if we have time, we're going to do Sam Levitt's TARP poll from over the weekend, his call of that. Also, my daily gripe is ahead. So stick with me. Just one more segment to go here on the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan. Last segment for the Skraby Show here on 97.3 The Fan for tonight. I'm Matt Skraby. You can follow me on Twitter at Matt Skraby, MattsKrab, as in boy, Y. We will have another Skraby Show tomorrow because the Padres have an off day, so there is a 6 to 7 p.m. slot that is open. Appreciate everybody who's watching right now. We got a bunch of people on X watching. We have some people on 97.3 The Fans YouTube watching. We have some Twitch watchers, so thank you to everybody for watching the show tonight and watching the station all week long, all day long. We're going to talk about Caitlin Clark in just a second and the WNBA salary issue. But I wanted to talk about Zach Gelb was right there before we came back to the show. Zach Gelb on CBS Sports Radio. And he was saying Steph Curry needs to get out if he ever wants to win again because the Warriors are done. And I agree. He does. He does need to get out, and he does need to find some other place to go because the Warriors are in rebuilding mode right now. Now, what I was not happy with is that Zach Gelb said, well, he needs to force his way onto the Lakers, which my problem with the NBA right now, and I know the NBA is an extremely popular league, and I have been a fan of the NBA, and I am a fan of the NBA. I've played fantasy basketball, but I feel like out of all the sports, NBA is the one sport where it does not matter where you sign your contract because you could go wherever you want, whenever you want. And James Harden has proved that over and over. And do big trades like that, are they fun to talk about? Yeah. But I'm talking about if you're someone in those cities. I'm trying to, it's just when you're a fan and you buy a jersey of someone, you're buying that jersey because you want to support them. You're buying that jersey because you like that player. And if you buy a jersey and someone's gone within the end of the year, say I'm making up these numbers. James Harden has a 7-year deal. He's in the first year of his 7-year deal. You want to go and buy a jersey of James Harden. So you buy a jersey of James Harden, and guess what? By the end of the year, he's sick of his team and he wants out. And I can't get behind that. It's actually, and here I'm getting on my soapbox, but it's actually a privilege to play professional sports. I know that's a crazy thing to say, but professional sports, people are very, very lucky to be that good at sports to be able to play professional sports. Now, a lot of those people deserve to be there because they've worked really, really, really hard to get there. I'm not saying that they haven't worked for it. There's nothing to do with if they deserve to be there. I just think that the NBA has a problem with players playing in games, and they also have a problem with players moving around too much. Just not a fan of that. It's hard for me to get into. I don't like it that you can just be like, hey, I'm out. I want to go to the Lakers now. Make it happen. All right, you made it happen. I'm going to the Lakers now. But Yep. We need jerseys with replaceable names. It's actually kind of funny. Huh. Anthony says, I don't mind my Soto jerseys because they come with great memories. All right. That makes sense. And Soto was a different deal, though, to me, at least, because he was a rental at the time. So we all knew that there was a possibility he would not be on the team by the time it came to pay him in free agency. James Harden signs like millionaire deals and is done with them after 2 days. Yeah. All right. Let's get into this WNBA salary topic. And this did shock me because we talked about it maybe a month ago, and I look up some of the salaries in the WNBA, and I saw someone was making, it was over 200,000. I think it was over 250,000. So we'll just say 250,000. Highest paid player in the WNBA. Now, that's kind of crazy because you would think they would get paid more. But when I saw what Caitlin Clark is going to make here with the WNBA in her first year, I was stunned because she's going to make $76,535 to play in the WNBA this year. I think it was the Big Three that offered her $3 million to play in the Big Three. And if you're playing professional sports, now there's many different ways you could argue this. The first way is if you play professional sports and you are the product, you should be paid accordingly. And I fall into that realm to a certain extent. But with the WNBA, I don't know that they are as they're not as financially set as the NBA. The top NBA pick is going to make $10.5 million in their first year. So that is a massive disparity. Like $76,535 for Caitlin Clark as the number one overall pick in the WNBA. And the NBA's top pick is going to make $10.5 million. Oh, here it is in the article. The top WNBA player made $242,000 in salary. But the thing with Caitlin Clark that I think is, and I'm not saying that things are going to change because of her, but I think things are going to change. It's going to be a stupid way of putting this, but because of her. I'm not going to say she's the one who's going to demand the change, but if Caitlin Clark is doing what Caitlin Clark is thought to do, which is bring all the eyeballs in the entire sporting world to her games, she deserves a little bit of a piece of that pie. I think there's the other angle of this is that the WNBA just does not make as much money as the NBA. And so you have to scale things back a little bit. And I do understand that. But the number one talked about athlete in the world at one point this year and has been recently, Caitlin Clark, is only making $76,000. There's something wrong with that. You're not giving Caitlin Clark, you're not giving any of these other players a real reason to want to fight for your league because your league doesn't even want to take care of you. And the attendance is another thing. NBA arenas can sell out 14, 15,000 tickets. The average attendance, I believe I saw in this article, for a WNBA game last year was around 6,000 fans. That's not going to get it done. And in the end, the owners are going to watch their bottom line. But I do think what Kelsey Plum said a few years ago, who she is local from San Diego, and she's a very good basketball player. She would like to see, let's see, how do I explain this? She wants to see the WNBA kind of do a revenue sharing type things with players because the WNBA does 50% of revenue goes to players. And this expert that they were interviewing in this article, David Barry, said that if the WNBA paid 50% of its revenue to players, top players would earn more than $3 million in salary. And I agree with that. And everybody listening knows for a fact, I do not like it when rich people try to steal all the money and keep it for themselves. Not a fan of that. Hate that very, very, very much. So $3 million, I think, is a fair offer for one of the better players in the WNBA. And it's getting better. Things are getting better. And I guess one of the other things I should bring up, but I didn't really want to, but I'm going to anyway, is a lot of these WNBA players have to go play elsewhere in the offseason. And hence why Brittany Griner got caught in Russia because she had to go there. And she was playing because she needed to supplement her income. And she's a professional basketball player. And she wasn't making enough. $76,000 is good money. Trust me. But can $76,000 allow you to live here in San Diego comfortably? I don't think so. I don't think you can live comfortably. And granted, she's living in Indiana, so $76,000 goes a little bit further in Indiana. But I really feel like she should get more than that. Dominic says she's going to make millions selling Gatorade and shoes and everything else. I agree with that. She's going to make a ton of she's going to make a ton of money in endorsements and all those things. But that still doesn't mean she shouldn't get paid a better base salary. It's like, I was going to make a comparison to me, but there's no comparison to me because I am not even close to being a WNBA player. Annabelle says, is it true that WNBA can't even travel on charter flights? They have to fly commercial. As of the last thing that I read, I believe that's true. They don't have commercial flights. They just have, or the chartered flights. I'm sorry. They have commercial flights. And after talking about the Aztecs and the basketball team and why they don't take those flights, those charter flights everywhere, like some of the other college basketball teams, it's very expensive. So you need a bunch of money. I think the WNBA owners can handle that, though. And it just always proves to me, when you're a good owner and you invest in your team and you give them amenities, they seem to like you more and they seem to play a little bit harder. I'm going to be watching Caitlin Clark's first game. I'm telling you. Dominic harkens back to the NFL. Players had to have jobs in the offseason. Yeah, they did, which is kind of crazy to me. Can you imagine, like, seeing Tyreek Hill working as an accountant or something like that in the offseason? That'd be so weird. But it used to happen all the time. So Caitlin Clark, there you go. I'm a fan. I think everybody's a fan. Not a fan of the reporter that asked her that question, though. If you don't know, just type in Caitlin Clark reporter. All right, we're coming to the end of the show, and it's time for this.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
All right. My Daily Gripe today is something that happened on the road. And since I don't get to do these Daily Gripes as often, I really have been taking note of things that have happened on the road, which would be, and we missed the Sam Levitt Tar Poll. I just saw it in my notes. We'll get to it one day. So last night I was driving home. It was an early show end because of the Padres game. So I live in North County. Most of the time I don't have to hit traffic at all. I don't hit any traffic, which is great. But last night I had to go home during the traffic hours. So I sometimes during the traffic hours, I get off and I take some of the back roads around the Del Mar Heights area. And the last 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, I have seen machinery in the road. Machinery does not belong in the road. I'm sorry. If you're going to want to drive your machinery from one place to another, you probably should do it at night, because this forklift that was going about 7 miles an hour for about a mile and a half, literally, I'm not kidding, there were about 25 cars following this thing. And it's really annoying. Really annoying. Like, I don't think you need your Bobcat in the road, or your forklift, or your backhoe, or whatever the heck you're driving around. Really, really not cool. Not a fan of it. Get your forklift off the road. All right, roundtable tomorrow, 10 a.m. Ben and Wood start at 6 a.m. We will be back with you tomorrow. More Skraby Show, 6 p.m. Good night, everybody.